it's Sam, and today I'm going to film a video talking about my labor and delivery and how everything went. And I'm going to show you guys my baby girl, and she's so gorgeous. I'm so in love and just awestruck at how perfect she is. And if you guys hear some moaning and groaning, it's coming from the crib. She's laying down, not quite asleep yet, but hi. Hi. What are you doing? Hi, baby girl. Oh my goodness, what? I just want to tell you guys how everything went, and maybe give some other new moms out there some preparation, or put some minds at ease, because I know I had a lot of anxiety before my labor and delivery, and just not knowing what to expect, because there are so many things on that day that are just, you can't control them. They're just, you can prepare as long as you want, and that's all you seem to do for your whole pregnancy, is you're preparing for the baby, you're preparing for the labor and delivery, you're preparing your body, but you can't really prepare for anything on the day, like there are so many unexpected things that could come up. So hopefully this will just put some minds at ease and help some other mommies out there out a little bit for their big day. So yeah, I'll just start. So my baby was due on April 20th, and she was overdue. The 20th came around, and I hadn't had any kind of signs, no labor pains or nothing. So I was just like, okay. And so I had a doctor's appointment on the 23rd, April 23rd, and my doctor asked me if I would want to induce labor, and I asked her how they would do it, and she just said she would have to go in manually with her hand and scrape the membranes of my cervix so that it would thin out, and my baby would kind of fall further into my pelvis, and I was just like, not that I was wanting to induce labor, I was just kind of curious about how they would do it, but I was like, no, let her come on her own time. There's no need to rush anything. So, the doctor, she checked my cervix. I was a few centimeters dilated. I think I was at 3 at the time, and about 80% effaced. So, I knew it was going to happen soon. Of course, so I was just like, there's no rush. There's no need to rush anything. And after she checked my cervix, I know, sorry guys, if this is TMI, I apologize, but when we're talking babies and labor and delivery, it's gonna come up, like, let's be real. When she checked my cervix, when a doctor checks your cervix, they use their hand, they pretty much put it all the way inside, like the whole thing, and they need to go pretty far to check it. And when she did it that day, it hurt really, really bad, and I bled significantly for the rest of that day after she did it, and I'm pretty sure it might have pushed things along, because the next day I went into labor. So, I mean, it might have pushed things along. I don't know if it actually did. You know, who knows? But, you know, the rest of that day went and I was bleeding a little bit. I mean, the equivalent to a regular period, I would say. I was bleeding the equivalent to the regular period, the rest of that day. And, you know, that night was fine. I wasn't experiencing any kind of pains or anything. It was just all regular. It was just all normal. And I woke up the next day and I felt really extremely mild period cramps. Or cramps that felt like period cramps. But they started out really, really mild. So we decided to stay home, and the cramps kind of progressed and got more intense and eventually turned into what I learned to be labor pains. Oh my god. Oh, what time was it? I want to say around like noon. They got really, really intense, and it was like, oh, it was like a period cramp. But imagine a period cramp with like 20 times more the intensity. And again, this is probably TMI, but again, just to let the new mommies out there know what labor pains kind of feel like, because I had no idea what to expect with labor pains. I you know, of course, this is my first kid. I've never felt anything like this before. So they felt like period cramps that are so much more intense, and there's so much pressure in your butt. I mean, like, of course on the inside. And I mean, so much so that I couldn't sit down. It hurt to be in a sitting position. So my poor fiance, he was so sweet, and I mean, he just didn't really know what to do, and I didn't know what to do either. You know, I was like, should we go to the hospital? Should we wait? My water hadn't broken yet. I didn't have any bloody show like that day, unless it came like the day before when I was actually bleeding. I don't know. But there were no other signs besides the pains, that I was actually going into labor. So I wasn't sure if I was going into labor or if it was just that pre-labor stage, that could last for, you know, hours or days or weeks or however long it would last. So, you know, I was laying in bed, and they came in waves, just like period cramps. Like, they're kind of always there, but the intensity comes in waves. So, you know, they got a little more intense, and I was laying in bed, and my fiance, he made a bath for me and lit candles, and he was so sweet. And, you know, I laid in the bathtub for a little bit, and at 3 o'clock, I was like, okay, let's go to the hospital, because if they get worse, I can't imagine them being worse. So, sorry, my nose itches. Sorry. So yeah, 3 o'clock, I was like, finally, let's just go to the hospital. I think we should go. Let's go. So I call my doctor and I call the hospital on the way there, and everything is fine when we get there. We get there and they checked me out. You know, they checked my cervix, they checked my contractions, they timed them. I was probably there for like an hour before I got the epidural, and the epidural process, and sorry guys, this video is probably gonna be really, really long. just because I want to be as detailed as possible to let everybody know the process, because I mean, like, you never really know until you're in the moment. And I didn't know until I was in the moment, you know, like, they don't walk you through anything before you go through it. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully this helps, and I'm just going to be as detailed as possible with this whole process. So, you know, I was there for about an hour, and then they gave me the epidural. They put me in my room, and I was laying there in the bed, and there was a separate doctor who does the epidural. He does, like, the anesthesias at the hospital and everything like that. So he comes in, and they tell me to sit up on the bed so that I'm, you know, sitting up. And the nurse comes over and stands in front of me, and she gives me a pillow to hug. Like, they have you hug the pillow and, like, hunch over and put your neck down to your your chin down to your chest. And the nurse is standing there the whole time in front of me, like, holding me. And I asked if my fiance could come over and, like, hold my hand, and she said, no, we've had so many dads faint that it's a policy that we don't have them come over here. Or I guess she said it was their policy that they don't have the dad, like, close to the mom when she's getting the epidural. But I mean, he was standing behind me instead. So I don't know, it was a stupid rule. And it upset me because I mean, it's a scary thing. You're getting a crazy shot in your spine, and I want the man that I love to, like, hold my hand and tell me it's gonna be okay. But anyway, so the nurse is holding me. I'm hugging this pillow. I'm hunched over, and the doctor who's doing my epidural, I feel one pinch, you know, in my back, it was about the middle of my back where they put it, and I felt the one pinch of the needle, and that was pretty much it. I didn't feel anything after that. Like, the process was about 5 minutes long, and the most uncomfortable thing I can say about it is the position that I had to stay in, because I tried to lift my head a lot of times, because I usually it just hurt, you know, like, straining this muscle back here, and being hunched over for that long like that, and I kept trying to lift my chin, and the nurse, like, kept pushing my head down, you know, and I didn't feel any other contractions after that. So I mean, the epidural was a smooth process, and I'm grateful for it. He was a really good doctor. The guy who gave me my epidural was very, very nice. He told me everything he was gonna do. He was very vocal and checked on me constantly. He was really, really nice. So after my epidural, they had me lay back down, and I was still dilating. I wasn't fully dilated yet. So, you know, they wanted to wait until I was dilated fully to start pushing, and I slowly got number and number. I couldn't feel my legs at all. My legs, my butt, everything pretty much from my hips down. I had no feeling whatsoever. I mean, I couldn't wiggle my toes. I, like, touched my legs, and you know that feeling when you go to the dentist and your mouth is numb and your tongue is numb, and you constantly bite your tongue because it feels just like a lump of flesh just laying there, and it's really gross but kind of fascinating. That's what my legs felt like, and I just kept poking them because they just felt so nasty. I mean, it was weird. So, you know, I had the epidural, and I was just laying there talking to my fiance, just waiting to be dilated. And finally the nurse comes in and she checks me, and, you know, she checked me around midnight, and she said I was fully dilated, go ahead and start pushing. I pushed for about 3 hours. And I pushed so hard. I tried so hard to push her out. I ended up throwing up. I pushed so hard and so long. One of the doctors from my OB office, who was on call that day, it wasn't my doctor, but it was one that I had met previously. She came in and she watched me push for a little bit, and she was like, and they told me that my baby was upside down, facing the floor, and I guess that's not the way they want to be, like, in the birth process, and that she wasn't getting enough oxygen while I was pushing, and she couldn't come all the way through my pelvis, that she was kind of just stuck. So I had to do a C-section, and sorry guys, I get emotional talking about that. We had to do a C-section, and I didn't want to have a C-section. I really, so badly, I wanted the experience of having my baby, like, the way you're supposed to have them. But it just didn't work out that way. So around a little bit after 3, they decided to do C-section. They moved me into the OR, and it was kind of a scary process for me because I've never had any kind of surgery before. I haven't even had wisdom teeth pulled. I never had anything close to any kind of major surgery. So when we first got to the OR, you know, my fiance was walking with me while they were wheeling me down, and they told him that he couldn't come into the room right away, that they had to get me set up first. And it really kind of upset me because, you know, of course I wanted him there through the whole thing. It's a scary process anyway. But I mean, they waited a long time before they brought him in. I think they waited too long. I don't know why. But they got me on the table. They put the sheet up in front of me. They didn't ask me if I wanted to watch or anything like that. They didn't really give me any options, really. So they, you know, and they numbed me, and I felt her clean me, you know, wipe my belly off before they actually made the incision. And you know, they finally make the incision, and I'm like, can my fiance come in yet? I mean, where is he? So then they go to get him, and he was there after that, and he was upset that he wasn't able to be there the whole time too. So yeah, they finally brought my fiance in to the OR, and I think the whole process, the whole surgery process took maybe about like 20 minutes. I can't remember much of it, to be honest with you. Like, I think the doctor was talking to my fiance kind of like the whole time. I just remember looking at him and holding his hand, and I remember feeling a lot of pressure in my stomach, and that's really it. I mean, just the pressure. And when they got her out, I felt the weight being taken out of me, and I knew she was out, and I heard her cry for the first time. I didn't see her just yet, but I heard her crying, and I lost it. I started crying. And then, so they brought her over to me and my fiance, and kind of had her wrapped up, and asked if I wanted to hold her, but I couldn't really hold her because I was laying down flat on the operating table, and the nurse was like behind my head, so she couldn't like give her to me in a safe way and like let me hold her. So they told us that she had to go to NICU for the next 4 hours for observation. So she was born at 3:33, and they took her to NICU right away. And after the operation, after the surgery, they took me into some random room. It wasn't my hospital room. They just took me to some room, and I slept for a few hours. I don't know how long it was, but Cam was there with me the whole time, and he didn't sleep. I don't think he slept for like the first day and a half that we were at the hospital. But so they had me in that room, and they finally took us back to what became our room at the hospital, and they finally brought Perseus up. I think it was around 8 in the morning that they finally brought her up, and it was so surreal seeing her. Oh my god, I had no idea I was going to be this emotional like talking about it. I'm sorry guys, I'm really sorry. But yeah, so they brought her up, and we got to hold her and keep her in there from then on with us, during the stay, and she's just beautiful. But when you have a C-section, you have to stay in the hospital for 3 days. And it's mostly because the baby needs to be there to observe and just to make sure that everything is absolutely okay before you go home. If you have a regular delivery, I think it's only 24 hours you have to stay at the hospital. But we were there a total of 3 days. So just during the rest of the stay, it was as comfortable as it could be. It's not your home, so, it's not extremely comfortable. So after the first initial few hours of having the baby in the room with us, the nurses and the doctors come. They check on you every couple hours at the hospital. You can never really rest, and it's very frustrating. And it's cool because they're concerned, they want to know how you're doing and how you're progressing, especially after a surgery. But and like I said, it's not comfortable because it's not your home, of course. And you have, on top of it, you have 20 people coming in to look at you, because it's never the same person, because these nurses, they have 4-hour shifts at a time, and every couple hours there's a new person on their shift. So they come in and they introduce you to the new nurse, and I mean, it's a new person every single time you're checked on. And you're checked on every couple hours, so you can't really sleep or, really rest. So that was kind of unexpected. For me, they were checking on how numb I was and the progress of that after my epidural. And then I had the epidural, and then once they decided to do the C-section, they had to give me more of it. I mean, if that makes sense. An extra dose, I guess, just to completely numb everything for the surgery. So they were kind of monitoring my numbness, I guess, more than anything at first. And I still, when you have an epidural done, you have a catheter put in you. I didn't mention that, but they catheterize you first before the epidural, and then they give it to you, just to make sure that you don't pee all over everything, because you can't feel anything. So I still had my catheter in for, I would say for the first full day at least. I had a little bit of trouble going to the bathroom after the epidural, and they told me it was because, the nerves are all numb and it takes a while for them to wake up again. So I had to keep my catheter in for quite a while being at the hospital, which is not comfortable either. But I mean, it's not unsafe. So the last day arrives, the third day arrives, and the nurses checked out Perseus, and she was fine. She's perfectly healthy. They weighed her. They monitor the baby as well I would say maybe every 8 hours. The nurse comes in and they check vitals, they check heartbeat, they check temperature. They weighed her a couple times. All the vitals, blood pressure, everything like that. And they do to you as well. Everything they check on you, they check on the baby. So, but the third day arrived and they checked her out and she was perfect. I was finally able to use the bathroom, and that was pretty much the only stipulation for me to go. And they also, after you have a C-section, I don't know if they do it after a regular birth. Like I said, this is my only kid and this is my only labor and delivery experience. So after my labor and delivery, because I had a C-section, when the nurses come in, they check on my scar every time they come. They checked on my stitches, they would push on my stomach. And I think they were checking my uterus to see if it was firming. I'm not really sure, but it really hurt. It hurt really, really bad. And I mean, it hurts even now. I mean, a little bit, not a lot. But after you have your baby, your skin is so loose and it's so thin that kind of even to touch it is painful. I mean, it's not really painful. For lack of a better word, it is kind of painful. Even today, I had my baby, how long was it? I had my baby 16 days ago, and when I lotion my tummy, and where my loose and thin skin is, it kind of hurts. You have to be really gentle. So there's that, and I mean, of course, to push on it, it hurts a little bit. It's not super intense, it doesn't knock you off your seat or anything like that, but it hurts a little bit. So we were finally discharged from the hospital, and the nurse that was on duty at that time came in, and said, okay, I'm gonna walk you down to your car. Okay. And you know, we had Percy in the car seat, and she was all wrapped up and ready to go, and Cam tried to pick her up to, you know, carry her out, because I couldn't really lift anything, and they tell you not to lift anything after giving birth or whatever, and the nurse stopped him and said, no, I have to carry her down. And we were like, why? I mean, that's really kind of weird. And she didn't give us a reason. She just said it was a hospital policy that she had to carry our baby in the car seat down to our car and put her in the car, like physically. And I mean, Cam and I, we both kind of looked at each other like, what? Like, I mean, she couldn't give us an answer. We kind of argued it for a few minutes, but we were eventually like, okay, whatever, you know, just get us out of there. So that was kind of unexpected. I did not know that that was a rule, that they do that when you go, I mean, or when you have a baby. But yeah, after that, I mean, we brought her home, and she's been amazing ever since. She's asleep now. She's so cute. I want to hug her all the time. I want to hold her all the time. She's so cute. Like, even when she cries, even when she like screams her head off, I just want to snuggle her and kiss her. And she's so sweet. Like I said, I'm just so in love. I can't stop holding her. But yeah, she's here, and we're kind of just getting in the groove of being parents, figuring out routines and doing our best. And I got emotional over my C-section because I really, like I said, I didn't want to have one. I was really looking forward to having the experience of having a baby. Like I said, the natural way you're supposed to have them, you know, not natural as in no epidural, but just natural, like not having somebody cut me open and take her out. I wanted that experience. And when I think about it now, but because I had a C-section, it feels like somebody just gave her to us, you know, like I didn't have her. It just felt like she was a gift, and you know, she was just kind of like given. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making any kind of sense, but I got really emotional about it one day, and I you know, I talked to Cam about it, told him those things, and I got really upset. I mean, because anybody can be cut open. That's why I wanted to have that experience, because I don't know if I'm going to have any other kids. I will never know what that feels like until it happens. And you know, like I said, anybody can be cut open. I wanted that to be special. And he just, I know I'm being silly about it, because he told me, he was like, you know, like, you made her. You carried her for almost 10 months, and you know, like, we didn't have a choice. It was for her safety and your safety, and if I had insisted on having her the way I wanted to have her, she might not be here. So, alright, you guys, I am so sorry. I'm done being emotional. I want to wrap up this video just letting you guys know the unexpected things that I didn't expect. I told you guys everything that happened. I I didn't expect the epidural to be such an easy process. I thought it would hurt a lot more than it did, and it was very, very simple. It was very fast, and I'm grateful for the doctor that I had. So if you're scared about getting an epidural, I hope this puts your mind at ease. I know it's kind of like a scary thing to think about, but the going through it is not that bad. Like I said, a lot more pleasant than I expected. Of course, having a C-section was unexpected. Hopefully, for those who don't want a C-section, it won't be a problem for you guys. And I think there might be a conspiracy talking about this in the town that I live in, because I'm not kidding you, every single mother I have met has had a C-section, and I didn't think it was that big of a thing. I mean, I didn't think that there were so many circumstances that would insist on somebody having a C-section versus like a natural birth. Because like growing up, I never knew any moms that had a C-section. My mom didn't have any, and she had 3 kids. My aunts never had C-sections. My friends' moms didn't have C-sections. So I'm wondering why it's so much more common now. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but yeah, it was unexpected. So there was that, and I mean, of course, there's no preparation for it, unfortunately. The bathroom thing and having a catheter, that was different. Again, not pleasant, but it's not painful. And then I would say the last thing that was unexpected that I didn't know was a rule was that somebody has to physically take your baby and put her in your car when you leave the hospital. It's so weird. I don't know why that's a rule. Like I said, it was just very strange. But yeah, I think other than that, that's everything that was unexpected. So yeah, I guess I'll just wrap up this video, and thank you guys for watching and for listening. I would really, really like to hear about your stories, your labor and delivery stories, your stories about being a new mom, about being an experienced mom, any advice any experienced moms have for being a new mom. Anything you would like to share, I would love to hear it. Please leave it down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next one.